What's up? It's Marco, Sage of Soccer, and today I'm going to be talking about this week's Premier League games. There are five that I watched that I want to talk about, and the first two are the two big derbies, the Manchester Derby and the North London Derby. And I want to talk about the Manchester one first, and man, Manchester City, they are really good. Just as a team, I said before the season started, I don't see them losing a game before the World Cup. And I think they have to be favorites for every single competition they enter. Like, the depth is really good. You can see the defense really coming together now. And Cancelo is great. Like, I always thought he gets, like, a little bit shafted because I think he's one of the best crossers in the world and they play him inverted, but he's made that position his own. Walker, he's a Premier League legend at this point. I think his injury is going to be fine. Gomez came in. I thought he did pretty well. You could tell it was his first game. Didn't do the best, but you could see the talent there. And I think I trust just about any center back pairing they have, whether it's Diaz, Stones, Akinji, Ake, Laporte. Like, five just amazing center backs there. The defense is amazing. Rodri at that holding mid position, even though he missed this game, is really good. Gundogan's somebody who's really impressed me lately. Bernardo Silva and Phil Foden in the midfield. Foden with a hat trick. Like, Kevin De Bruyne, I think he's like all-time great Premier League status. Like, he's passing Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard on my personal list, and just world class, one of the best players in the world. Like, if Belgium have a good World Cup run, I'll be making a case for him to be winning the Ballon d'Or. Like, amazing player. And Erling Haaland, typical game for him. Got a hat trick. If you saw, I need to throw this down the screen. He was so quick to reach 3 Premier League hat tricks. It's insane. And man, game against Manchester United, it might mean a lot extra to him. I think everybody knows the story, but in case you haven't heard, I'll mention it again. Erling Haaland's father, when he was playing for Manchester City, him and Manchester United's captain at the time, Roy Keane, got into a bit of a beef, I guess. Roy Keane got himself injured at one game, and Haaland thought that he was faking an injury, which I don't think Roy Keane would do. But Keane had actually tore some ligaments in his knee, and Keane remembered that, and the next time that he played against Haaland and Man City, he broke Haaland's leg on purpose. So yeah, it must be good to get that revenge for his father. And Man City, they look like a great team. It was a disappointing game for Manchester United, obviously, allowing 6 goals. Like, it is what it is. But I actually still think they've got some potential. They're pretty far behind Man City, but I don't think the gap between them and Arsenal is, like, that huge. And they can very easily bridge the gap to like a Liverpool and a Chelsea and a Tottenham. I don't think they're that far behind at the moment. They're probably the 6th best team in the top 6. Maybe you make an argument they're ahead of Chelsea or Tottenham right now. But I think that there are a lot of good things. My problem early on in the season is that they really had nobody who looked top 4 quality. But I always said that Varane and Sancho, they can really, we know they are that good. They just hadn't showed it yet. And I think Varane has really showed that he is the player that we saw he was at Real Madrid. And Sancho is starting to flash those moments of brilliance that we saw at Borussia Dortmund. Then Bruno's still a decent player. De Gea's still a decent player. Like, they're pretty good. And a couple of the signings have looked very good. I think Malacia has been a missing piece at left back that they really haven't had since probably Evra. And he's looking very good. Anthony's proven to be a great signing. I think Martinez has done well, and adding Casemiro into the team is going to be big. There are still some weak points and some issues. I don't think Rashford's the solution up top. Scott McTominay's pretty weak at that position. I think right back's still a problem. Man City were targeting Diego Dalot a lot, but I think the team is looking a lot better, and I think Champions League spots is pretty realistic for them. On to the North London Derby, and Arsenal won this game, deserved winners, and I think they're legit title contenders at the moment. Great win over their rivals, and this team is looking so much better. I remember a couple years ago, I was really thinking that Arsenal were going to basically fall out of being a top 6 club, but I think when they brought in Martin Odegaard, I was like, oh, okay, I really like this signing, and this year everything's really come together. Gabriel Jesus is finally having his breakout year, and I think he's like bordering on becoming a world-class level striker. I mentioned Odegaard before, and I personally think he never stopped progressing, and he was always showing his talent while he was out on loan at Real Madrid. But he's really hitting his potential and just proven to be that wonder kid that Real Madrid signed, who's like, what, 16, 17? Then Saka, he's going to be a world-class player, just amazing. Martinelli's looking very dangerous. I think Partey finally added that just steal in the midfield that Arsenal hadn't had since probably Gilberto Silva, or at the very least since Alex Song, and just really good to have him there. And the defense just looks fixed. And on top of that, there's some depth there too. You had Zinchenko starting today. I like Tierney. You had Ben White on the right. I like Tomiyasu. Gabriel Saliba. That's a very good partnership. Aaron Ramsdale's looking good, and Arsenal's just looking like a side that can challenge for the title. I think that their depth could be tested later in the year, but if they're able to manage the Europa League well, I think that there's a very easy chance that they can challenge for the title and they could come away with the win. And I think Tottenham are heading in the right direction as well, but they do need to back Conte. Now, they were looking like the worst side, but I think they're just kind of a way that Conte teams kind of look like. They're more pragmatic than a more dominating possession team. And so I don't think you can really fault them for like looking like the worst side, but the result is still pretty poor. The attack, obviously amazing. Kane, Son, Richarlison. I'm a big fan of Gillespie, and that's not even getting into some of their prospects. But I think outside of them, the team is pretty weak. I do like Højbjerg in the midfield. Romero's proven to be a good signing at center back. And I like Perisic in the short term, as well as Ryan Sessegnon in the long term. So I think their left wing back spot's probably pretty good, but there's still a good amount of holes in that team, and I think those are the only players on the team capable of being that top 4 level players that they need. Hugo Lloris is really starting to show his age more and more. Eric Dyer and Ben Davies, they can do a job, but they're only so good. I don't think Emerson's going to become like a really good player. Midfield, I'd like to see Basuma given a real run in the team, but him and Bentancur I don't think are going to be solutions there. I think Tottenham are going to be fine. I think Champions League is probably the expectation for them this year. They should be able to outpace Manchester United. They should be able to outpace Chelsea and Liverpool if things don't change. But they're going to have to back Conte if they want this team to succeed, and that's something we've said for Tottenham for a while. Things are heading in the right direction, but their window is only so big. Kane's getting older, Son's getting older. Like, they need to back this team right now if they want to have any chance at real success. Then with some other games, Graham Potter's Chelsea's looking all right to start out. I don't think it was a great performance, but they got the job done. And the attack is looking a lot better, which is the main thing. Again, I don't think Aubameyang's going to be their guy. And honestly, I don't think they have a real good chance of making the Champions League. It could happen if Tottenham don't put things together. Manchester United could slip up. Liverpool's not looking the best right now either. But honestly, that's just kind of how Chelsea is. Like, they bring in a new manager every few years. They're going to have one big summer to rebuild, and things will be able to get better. I mean, now that they don't have Abramovich's money, will things change? Maybe. But, Chelsea, they don't look the best right now, but I don't think anybody's particularly concerned about them. And it should be said that they have a lot of good young pieces. The amount of just local players that they have who have come through Chelsea's academy, I think that'll really help them. Because that like a Mason Mount, a Reece James, a Conor Gallagher, like all of them are going to want to stay at the club. And I think it's good to have that just core of players in the team. And there are a lot of legends there, like Azpilicueta is still there. And I think there's a ton of potential in this Chelsea side, but they're just going to have to put everything together. And then the team that they played, Crystal Palace, they're playing well, but they need to get some wins. I think they're in 17th place, only above Wolves on goal difference. I wouldn't be too concerned. They had a really tough start to the season, but defense is kind of in trouble right now just due to injuries. Joel Ward should not be playing center back or even right back at this point. Like, he's a club legend, but like it is what it is. He should have been replaced a couple of years ago. I do really like the Gahey-Anderson partnership. I'm a big fan of Chris Richards as well, but Richards might have to play out at right back because Klein's injury is looking bad. I think Tyreek Mitchell is only going to be so good for them. He's a player that I think has a lot of potential, and because he's a left-footed player, a left back, he's getting some attention with the England national team. But I think he has a lot of growing still to do. Then going forward, I think there's some good players. You have a good mix of like players with more like work rate, like a Jordan Ayew and a Jeffrey Schlupp, and then with more technical players like the Zahas, Elises, Eze's of the world. I really like the signing of Decore. I think he's really helping the team, and if Edouard can keep scoring, like striker's going to be better. But striker's still a pretty big weak point for Crystal Palace, and I think they need to get that sorted. They need to get the defense sorted. I think you probably need to make a mid-season signing to help out the defense, but I think that they will be a lot better. I mean, you could still expect like a team like Bournemouth to start dropping points at a pretty high rate, and I don't think they're really going to be concerned about relegation, but if they get another one or two injuries, it could look pretty bad. Then with the Leeds and Aston Villa game, I think with no context, you'd think this was a pretty poor performance by Leeds, but they defended very well, and I think that's a huge improvement for them. Just being able to stop that Aston Villa team while they were down a man, like, I think that's a pretty crucial win for Leeds. Even not a win, but just a W for them. And it could be a real turning point, just showing their defense can be really good, because that's something that I don't think we expected to see out of Leeds. I think if last year they would have gotten a red card, they probably would have conceded 5 in this game. But it's really good to see their defense come together, and there's a good amount to be excited about with that Leeds squad. And then Aston Villa, I really think they're underachieving with all their talent. With Watkins and Ings both there, like I know Danny Ings isn't what he like was with Southampton, but he's still a really talented player. Watkins is really good. You have Coutinho there. Leon Bailey's got a lot of potential. Like I personally find him a little bit overrated, but John McGinn's there. Like the team really should be doing better, but I don't know. I don't think Steven Gerrard's getting the best out of them, and I think at some point Aston Villa have to consider like, did we want to get a better manager in? Because I feel like it was the same thing with Dean Smith. I don't think he was the best choice for them either. So I really think that they need to find like their guy. You can see how good Brighton was under Graham Potter, and I think Aston Villa probably have more talent in their team than Brighton does. So I think that's something to keep in mind for them. And Leicester finally got back on track, though. I'm not sure that's the best thing for them. Maybe having Brendan Rodgers being fired would help them. He's obviously helped Leicester a lot, got them some real stability after Claudio Ranieri left. The FA Cup run's pretty big. They had a couple of good European moments, but yeah, the team's been looking bad in the Premier League for a couple of years now. I don't think they're, I do think that their players have like shown their talent, like Ndidi, Tielemans, Madison in the midfield. They just really need either an Iheanacho or Daka to get going, and man, I feel like their defense could be a lot better. Suinchu just hasn't found his form that he had a couple of years ago. They lost Fofana. Johnny Evans is there, but he's only going to be so good. Like I can say that with a lot of players. Hopefully like a Castagna or a Luke Thomas will really just solidify that team, because I think this is a really good Leicester team. They had such a bad start that I can't see them getting any like European camp, anything going for Europe. Like they'd be lucky to reach 10th place right now. But it'd be really fun to watch them have a cup run. I think they have enough depth to pull it off. And something to keep an eye on. And Nottingham Forest, they looked pretty bad. I had them getting relegated in the preseason. I stand by that. Hopefully things will be able to turn around for them. Man, I'm really hoping Steve Cooper can do something. He's probably the best choice for England manager right now. With Graham Potter at Chelsea, I don't think he's going to be taking that job, and I think they want to keep it as an English manager. So you want to see Steve Cooper do well, but maybe if he does get fired, that could be best for him long term. But yeah, that's all I really have to talk about. A couple of really good performances this weekend. Man City, they just look insane, but Arsenal are right up there with them. Arsenal's winning the Premier League right now. So yeah, that's all I'll talk about right now. See you.